With me in the studio today from e-Therapeutics, pleased to welcome back Ray Barlow. Ray, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Andrew.
Give us a recap, if you would, and nice to see you. Give us an idea, just an overview, just to start us with e-Therapeutics. What's the business about?
Yeah, so as a recap, we're a biopharmaceutical company. We have a drug discovery platform. Essentially what we're doing is to use computational techniques to interrogate biology, but we've created two unique platforms as part of that. The first of which is what we call network-driven drug discovery. And essentially we have expertise in network science and network biology. And what we're doing is to interrogate biology, and essentially with that platform what we're able to do is to discover new and better drugs in a more efficient and timely and effective manner. So that's all around generating assets which will be differentiated, IP protected therapeutic opportunities. More recently we've created a brand new platform called GAINS, and that's to do with the interrogation of genomic data, population genomic data. And essentially what that allows us to do is to think of it as a Rosetta Stone for the interpretation of genomic data. Enables us to look into those population genomic data and to identify disease pathways and disease processes which may be important. And we're incredibly excited by that technique and that opportunity.
Right, well, before we talk in a bit more detail about the platforms themselves, just remind me what the strategy is at e-Therapeutics.
Yeah, so we've created this set of tools and techniques and capabilities, and we're using the platforms that we've created to generate our own assets. So we're going to develop those assets as capital permits, and they would be the foundation of licensing deals with biopharmaceutical companies moving forward. What we're trying to do there is to bring differentiated assets to an industry that's very hungry for those type of opportunities. The second value source for us is around the work that we're doing, for example, with Novo Nordisk and the deal that we announced yesterday, in working with companies in an area of biology of mutual interest, where we would generate insight in terms of biology and also assets that would form the basis of potential collaborations. And I think very importantly, given the investment we put into the platform, using the platform now to generate new capabilities and new functionalities, which would be the GAINS thing that we've just launched. We're also working on things such as patient segmentation and MOA deconvolution, which are really interesting opportunities in their own right within the industry.
Well, that's, as you mentioned there, you've done another deal with Novo Nordisk. Tell me a bit more about what's involved here. Yeah,
so the first deal that we did with them was at the end of last year in December, and we're working with them on the NDD platform to look at a specific area of type 2 diabetes. And that's the classic looking at how the way you use our platform to identify novel pathways and also novel assets. And this is right in the heart of their core therapeutic space. Novo Nordisk, as you're well aware, are one of the world's biggest diabetes organizations. The second deal that we announced a couple of weeks ago is actually the first deal that we've done on our GAINS platform. And this is looking at population genomic data in the area of diabetes. And we went from essentially a conversation within a month to doing a deal with them. So we were really pleased by the speed of the way in which we've been able to convert that into the first commercial transaction on that technology.
And this deal that you've done with a top 5 global pharma company,
yep.
What's this focused on?
Yeah, that's in neurodegeneration. That deal was more typical of the sort of trajectory of the timing of transactions with big companies. That was about 18 months in the formation, but that's using our NDD platform to actually look at a specific area of neurodegeneration. Now the area that we're working on, we're not allowed to disclose, but it's been an area that has been extremely difficult to address using other approaches and is uniquely suitable to our NDD platform. So it's a real top player in the industry. It was a long, deep diligence on that process, and we're delighted that we're going to be working with them. And I think importantly, that the nature of the transaction is that we'll retain a lot of the value there, and they'll have to buy into that asset in a substantive way if they want to take it forward. So long process, always is with big companies, but we're very pleased that we're getting there with that type of transaction.
But it's an area of significant unmet need.
Absolutely,
Right.
And it's an area that there's been very significant focus throughout the global industry There's not been a great deal of success. There's been a huge amount of money spent on that area, and it's something that we think that we can actually generate some very interesting opportunities in.
More broadly, when it comes to neurodegenerative diseases, are we seeing a lot of interest now from big pharma in the space?
I think that the interest is tempered because a lot of the players have made some very large bets in some very significant areas. Like, so for the beta amyloid hypothesis has been very, very heavily tested. But the opportunity there remains enormous. We only have to look at the news to understand the impact of neurodegenerative disorders, Alzheimer's, dementia, and to understand that science has not been particularly successful in trying to address these things, and that's why we're really happy to be working with a world leader in this area, and we think we can bring something new to that. So it's an enormous opportunity. Have to sort of preface that by saying this is early, this is drug discovery. We're not in the clinic, but I think we bring something different to the table there, and we're very excited to be working in the area.
And I spot in the announcement you referred to further potential collaborations to be announced. So the pipeline's looking strong.
Yeah, so we set out around 18 months ago. In fact, the last time I was in here, we said, look, we're going to go out into the world. We're going to execute systematic business development exercise. We've been doing that. You see, some of those deals take a long time, like the one we announced yesterday. Other ones happen more quickly. We've got a deep pipeline of interactions with different players, very different types of deals, very different types of opportunities. And I think what we're trying to do is to bring in capital and revenue, if you like, from a non-dilutive source, trying to increase the optionality around the business, and you're beginning to see some of the fruition of the hard work that have been undertaken over the last number of years on our BD exercises.
And what about your own portfolio of assets?
Yeah, so rewinding back to the strategy, we can use this platform to generate and create unique assets. We have a number of projects in our portfolio. When we came in last, we identified 2 immuno-oncology projects that we were going to focus our capital on. We've been investing in those programs. We've taken them to a point now where I think that we're going to need more capital, to take them much further forward. We are looking at risk share type arrangements with different players in terms of them putting some money in to take them forward. But the balance that we've had to strike here in very difficult markets, in challenging times of biotechnology, is that we think it's right to focus on our core capabilities to bring some non-dilutive revenue into the business. And we've still got those assets. They are now patent applications, they're ready to go. And if the capital situation changes in terms of our ability to bring more money in, then that's the first place we're going to invest. We're going to invest back in those assets because they ultimately will be strong value sources for us.
Right. So as far as the next 6-12 months then, what's going to be at top of the agenda for you?
Well, we've got to stick to what we're doing. I think you're beginning to see a pipeline of opportunities being delivered. We're going to focus very much on the strategy that we've articulated to the markets and to our shareholders, and essentially stick to knitting, if you like, and focus on what we've been doing for the last year or so.
You've talked about being mindful of the cash. Your working capital, you find?
Yeah, so we've been very careful with our cash. We've reduced the investment in the discovery assets I've just articulated. We've refocused the organisation. So we've got a reduction in headcount. We're pleased to welcome some very skilled new employees in recent past, but we're trying to preserve the cash that we've got and try and be careful with that. And based upon where we're at today, we should have sufficient cash to last us through to the end of 2020. Now, of course, I'm always looking for means to really invest in the business and to try to reallocate the capital that we bring in on transactions to progress the shareholder value, because that's fundamentally what we're all about. We want to try and create shareholder value for our shareholders.
You clearly see some big potential in these platforms, and you've done some big deals in recent times here. So I suppose you'd argue the market cap's not a fair reflection.
Absolutely
of where
not.
the business is.
So I think that, look, it's a tough time out in the stock market. It's a particularly tough time in the biotechnology sector, and it's an even worse time in the UK AIM-listed biotechnology sector. So, we're a part of a group of companies who are fundamentally undervalued in terms of their opportunity, in terms of the potential. So I think that, the way when we look at our market capitalization, we really, sort of disappointed in terms of, where we're at with the market at the moment. We hope as, clarity comes through, as, the macroeconomic situation becomes clear, that we can begin to convert that more into a real appreciation for the true value that we've got here, because we've got great science, we've got assets, we've got collaborations, we've got, cash on the bank.
Revenues.
And we've got revenue. We've brought revenue into the organisation for the first time. We've got a portfolio of deals that we're working on. So, look, it doesn't reflect anywhere near where we think we should be.
So to sum up, where e-Therapeutics is now, it's all about commercialisation, is it?
Yeah, so I think that we've got a strategy, and we're delivering on that strategy. We've got to continue to bring in commercial opportunities and revenue. It's around getting the value of the company to where it needs to be, and I think that we've worked hard over the last year or so to convert the opportunities that we've been working on, and it's absolutely around getting that value recognised.
Ray, good to see you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks very much.